Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be going over how to build a computer in 2024. This is a budget build here. This is one of my first videos I made on how to build a computer. So if you have any pointers on something I missed or something I should do that would be better, please leave it in the comments. But here today I have two hard drives, one with 1 terabyte and the other one with 2 terabytes, an SSD with 500 gigs, and a RTX 3060 12 gig MSI with a 650 watt 80 plus gold power supply. I don't remember what brand of motherboard this is. I got it from TechViper, so shout out TechViper. It's a pretty good motherboard. It's a little old, but it works. We have two DDR4 16 gigs of RAM and i5 11400F. Here's CPU. A CPU fan that came with the CPU because I didn't have a CPU fan before, or I did, but it stopped working. But here today I'm going to show y'all how to actually put all this together to make a running computer that is stable enough to actually play games and keep high FPS. So first off, what I normally do is I apply my CPU to my motherboard. So what I will normally do first is I will actually apply my CPU to my motherboard right here into this socket here. You're going to want to match up the arrows that are on the, if it'll focus, that are down here, right? You're going to match it up with the arrow actually on the motherboard socket. And you're going to be very, very careful placing this in. You do not want to damage any of the pins inside, because if you do that, it is basically game over. And what you're going to do is you're going to leave this back. You're going to bring it up and then apply it. May seem like a lot of tension on there. I promise you it's not going to break it. It's just so it will hold it down. And then what we're going to do now is actually apply some thermal paste here. So how you're going to apply the thermal paste is you're going to put a little dollop right here in the center, about that much. You don't need a whole ton, but you want a good amount, you know. And then you don't have to spread it, but sometimes you can. That should be good enough for now. And sometimes if you need to, if you are having issues with your graphics card overheating here, you'll take off this top plate or however you may have it. All right, now let's go ahead and put the CPU fan on real quick. All right, and once you have placed your CPU fan onto your motherboard, you can plug it up. You don't have to plug it up. Just really depends on what you want to do. What I like to do next is actually apply my RAM sticks. We'll say on this motherboard I did accidentally break one of the RAM socket fitters, and well, it still works. I mean, as long as you're not moving everything around all the time and, you know, throwing your computer around, your RAM should stay. And usually the way you can tell how your RAM fits in is the little socket right here. See, this is DDR4. DDR3 is very different. It is either up a little bit more, it's not more in the middle, it's like a little bit up. And so on your motherboard, the way you can tell if it's compatible is either you look it up and you search whether or not DDR4 is compatible with your motherboard, or you look at the socket fitting. And on this socket, you can clearly see it is almost in the middle. They're never exactly in the middle, so don't worry about that. We're gonna go ahead and put the motherboard inside of the computer case, because like I said, my graphics card is really large. It's a 3 fan, and it is really big for this motherboard. It's actually almost twice the size bigger, 2 times bigger than this motherboard. but it would just be easier for me to put this motherboard in first and then put the graphics card in. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to see if I can apply some more thermal paste to this graphics card here. And I'll need a smaller screwdriver. Okay, as you can see here, I have it open now, and I do need to reapply thermal paste. So, yeah, let's go ahead. It is a little dirty. I haven't actually opened this thing up in a bit and cleaned it. I have sprayed it with it in a can, and so let's go ahead and clean off the old thermal paste and put some new on there. Alright, let's go ahead and apply it right there in the middle, not too much. And this time we're not going to spread it just because you don't need to spread it. And we're just going to pop it back on there. And once we get the computer up and running, we'll see how it performs. Alright, now that we have my graphics card back together, we can go ahead and put the motherboard in my case with the graphics card. Let's go ahead and get to that. Going to, and I know I didn't do it this time, but sometimes you want to place your motherboard on a cardboard box or something that doesn't have any kind of static electricity, because if there is enough static electricity, like say if you poke someone and you shock them, that can sometimes, very rarely, damage a component in your computer. So be very mindful of that, because you don't want that happening. No one does. Before we put the graphics card in, we are going to go ahead and plug up the HD audio, the USB plugs, and all that, just so that we are safe and so that we remember it, because I know I will forget about it. Done it a couple times. Forgot to plug in a few of these cords, but plug this one in all over here. Just look at the sockets, or you can look at a diagram and see exactly where to plug them in. Sometimes other certain motherboards are different, but for me, my experience, they've all kind of been the same. So just make sure they're in there completely, and if they have like a release, make sure you hear like a pop or a click or something that doesn't sound like it's broken. So let's put this one in right here. Is it in there? Yep, it is. Alrighty. Oh yes, I need to go grab something real quick. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip tie these cables. I know some people don't like to do that because sometimes it looks a little tacky, but I will say that if you have them, why not use them, right? And they don't look that bad to me. Here we go. Slide this down a little bit just so it flushes with it. There we go. Alright, that's all in there. And then what I'm also going to do is grab these cords from back here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so probably should have waited to zip tie, but I can zip tie these as well. So these are your power cords to your case. Say like your power switch up there, your reset switch, your power LEDs, and all that. So we're going to go ahead and plug these in. They're usually coordinated down right here. Like it'll say like what they're for, where to plug them in at. And so I'll pop up a diagram on the video right here. But we're going to go ahead and get this all plugged in and situated real quick. Alright, those are all plugged in. So let's go ahead and get the graphics card all in there. Get that screwed in and attached really quick. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to place our hard drive SATA cords. It'll all be dandy. Like a faster SATA cable, you want to plug that into your main hard drives and the SSD. But we're just gonna go ahead and place these on in here. We will get to the power supply last, just so that it'll be easier to cable manage and everything. But we're gonna go ahead and get this all set up. Actually, while we're doing that, I might as well just plug in my, where is it at? Here it is. Here's the other switch I was talking about. The LED switch right here, LED switch. If you have a hub right here, this hub, you'll just plug it into the double prong, usually at the top or the bottom, however way you have it orientated, and you're just gonna plug it in. Should work your switch up here, which I don't know if my switch works. This is an old case. I've had it for at least a couple years now, and so switch may have gone out, which I may need to fix, may do a video on it. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these placed in here. I don't have an extra one of these, so this one's just gonna have to sit in there, which we're not doing a whole lot of moving, so it should be fine. Should stay stationary. This one, I do have a piece that goes onto here. Everything in the way, all right. Plug it up like that. Usually you will hear a click. Sometimes if you don't, it's not mounted correctly. Like this one, this is an old cord, so the actual connector piece doesn't exactly hold it, sadly, but this is a budget build, so not everything's going to be perfect. Here we have the power supply. Sometimes people like to have it upside down facing towards the top of the case, because either they have the exhaust fan in the back and it's blowing out, you blow the hot air up and blow it out, but since my graphics card is so large, it will just pull in the hot air, and that's not too good. But so I'm gonna have it like this, facing down, so it pulls the hot air blows the hot air to the bottom. If you do have a power supply and you're trying to build your computer, if it does not work, either it can be the power supply, motherboard, processor, or it could be like it can be anything. But a good way to test it is if you get, it's kind of dangerous, so I actually would not try this, but only let like professionals and those who actually know how electricity truly works, and do it in a safe environment away from any kind of water or liquid, anything like that. But you'll get a safety pin and hold it with some kind of rubber, like make sure the safety pin has some kind of rubber, take off the rubber on the ends. You'll plug it into specific ports inside of this. I don't exactly remember which ports it is. I think it's 4 and 6 or 4 and 5. It's either one of those. That's from left to right. So 4, 5 or 4, 6. And usually once you plug it in and turn it on, it should instantly kick on the fans if it does work. And that means you have a different issue. But we're gonna go ahead and get this set up real quick and plugged in. CPU cords will plug into your motherboard at the top, or however your case is, wherever the slots are. But mine is right here. You're gonna plug it in up here at the very top right or top left, however you're looking at it on your motherboard. And you usually want to use this one right here. This is usually the best fit for it. See? Oh yeah, also something I forgot to talk about is if your RAM, if you have more than 2 sockets for your RAM socket, you want to use 2 and 4. So you want to skip the first one, go to the second one, skip another one, go to the fourth one. So this piece here, you see that there are arrows on the other side right here. This shows how they are supposed to go. So they're supposed to go that direction, and then make sure they are both going the same way, and then plug them up. There we go. It's in there. Make sure the clip piece is in there as well. Now let's get to the graphics card. put this one up into this. There we go. There we go. This piece, put it up on to that, just like so. Back around. Now let's nail some of these cables back here. Alright, let's go ahead and power this thing up. Make sure everything's running correctly. Alrighty. So I do want to say thank you to whoever's made it this far. Please be sure to like and subscribe. But I will say that whenever I did get my computer built and stuff, it did not want to turn on for a bit. But that is because of the fact that I put my RAM in backwards, which is why you've seen the clip of my RAM safety guard breaking off. Usually when I put my RAM in, I will usually look at the sticker on the side, which will usually indicate the direction. And this time I didn't. I wasn't really thinking about it. So be sure to make sure that you look at the direction that your actual pins on your RAM stick are going in that little slot. Don't make the mistake I did. So thank you for making it this far. Let's see if our computer will power on. Turn it on. Everything turns on correctly. BIOS. There we go. Alright. And what we can also do is, say for example, if you have like your RAM, you can enable XMP. So like if your RAM is supposed to hit up to 3200 like mine, megabytes per second, or 3200 megabytes, not per second. You can go over to, sometimes it's very different. You can go to overclocking performance menu, go to memory, and then XMP profile 1. You'll see right here, you want to use profile 1 because it allows for a better, a higher megabyte. And sometimes if you don't have this, certain motherboards are not compatible with overclocking. And if you are lucky and you do have overclocking on yours, then you can do this. It's not too hard. If you can't figure out where it is on your BIOS, just look up your specific BIOS. Mine is FTO setup, AMI. There you go. You have successfully built yourself a working computer, and it should run pretty well as long as you run it how it's supposed to be ran. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We'll do a recap on what you got to do. Be sure to be very careful while putting in your processor into your motherboard, because the motherboard slot, the little pins are very delicate. You can mess them up by just by brushing them with your finger. Be very careful with messing with those. Be sure to apply your RAM correctly, or you might do what I did. Be sure to use the top PCIe port for your motherboard because it allows for better performance. Use 2 and 4 slots on your RAM, and try your best on cable management. It's a little difficult. Not everyone can do it. I can't do it. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed.